Me
Me
too.
too.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too. Me too. Me too. If all the women who have been sexually harassed or assaulted wrote "Me too" as a status, we might give people a sense of the magnitude of the problem.
That's actually the thing that I think we started out this thing with what was your first reaction to Me Too is honestly the deafening silence from men. Yeah. Just silence. And not, I hear you, I'm listening, but just, I don't have to respond because this doesn't really affect me. That is the pinnacle of male privilege. And if you're unaware or if it doesn't...
The women don't have to do anything. It's the men that really have to do something right now. And I don't want any woman who's listening to this or in the world to really feel like you have to teach us what to do or support us in doing that.
I have to say that I am appalled and amazed both at some of the stories that some of them have shared with me, and B, the action of change, not the voice, but the action of change.
Yeah, for me, I think doing something like this, starting this conversation, is a step in the right direction. There's a lot more that I personally have to do.
You know, first of all, the evil that you pass by is the evil you tolerate. You know, that's where you set your standard.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Agree or Disagree, the podcast. This is Kevin Olenek. The clips that you've heard were a part of a conversation that we've been having with women and men about the hashtag #MeToo movement that has been going on the last month or so, I would say. And today we are going to address online dating or the online behavior of men and women on social media. And it would be, if we're going to do this topic justice, which is the intent, we have to talk about this. It's not something that we can ignore. A blogger named Jon Millward created 10 fake OKCupid profiles with similar sounding usernames, with the same written profile, personal stats, level of education. The only difference was each account had a different photo of a man or a woman of varying attractiveness. Here's what was found. The women as a group received over 20 times more messages than the men. The two most attractive women received 83% of all of the messages. The two most attractive women probably would have received several thousand more if their inboxes hadn't have reached maximum capacity. It took 2 months, 13 days for the most popular women's inbox to fill up. At the current rate, it would take the most popular man 2.3 years to fill up his inbox. But it's not just the messages, it's the content in these messages. And it's not just the words, it's the pictures. And we all know what we mean by pictures. Our guest today, to help us with this, is Casey Logan from Calgary, Alberta. She's a dating columnist for the Calgary Sun, printed nationally on occasion, a perpetual optimist, perpetually single. Sarcasm really needs a font. Opinions are all mine. I got that from your Twitter. Is that okay?
That's totally fine, thanks.
How are you today?
I am excellent. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Now, you write more in a comedic way, and this is a seriouser topic, so you're feeling a little bit out of your element, but I'm sure that you're going to do great, and I'm sure that your perspective is going to be great. Even when we talked off air, you're going to do fine. So, and we're not live.
Well, thank you.
We're not live. Maybe the best way to start this with you is kind of a reaction overall to the movement and the conversation after Alyssa Milano's tweet.
I liked the reaction. I like that we are talking about problems in our society. The great thing about social media is that it gives
everyone a voice. And anyone who's been a woman online also, anyone who's been a woman online also realizes that giving everybody a voice has brought forth some really dark parts of our society, which has led to being able to discuss things like Me Too. So I think that it's definitely a step in the right direction in maybe addressing some of the issues that before didn't maybe seem as prevalent because there was no platform in which to discuss them in such a manner.
Yeah, it's true. It's opening. I think it's opening people's eyes a lot, and yeah, I think it's been good. I mean, I think maybe the concern right now for me, I guess, is because there's so much other stuff that goes on in this world that it's the ADHD or the dog from Up, where it's like squirrel, you know.
Well, that's what the hashtags are.
Yeah.
Basically, it's squirrels.
Yeah, exactly. So, tell me sort of some of the, not your own personal experience necessarily, but some of the stuff that you hear from people in regards to online dating that you have heard in terms of struggles, specifically from women around this.
Well, I've been online dating for a long time. So personally, I have a good group of friends that are all dating, and we compare messages, and we will actually send screenshots to each other of, oh, do you know this guy? He kind of sent me something weird. And sure enough, one of us out of our circle will say, oh my gosh, stop talking to him right away. His next line is going to be this, and he's going to send you this photo, and just abort mission, like get out of there. So there's a lot of, there's nice people online too, but there's a lot of predatory behavior in online dating. There's a lot of unwanted sexual harassment, a ton of it. These messages come in and they're a page and a half long of someone's sexual fantasy of what exactly they want to do to you, and how they're, describing their appendage, and how, very graphic sexual fantasy written out for you very poorly, I might add. And as a writer, it really throws me off when you're trying to write a sex novel as an opening message to a woman, and you've got, the grasp of the English language from about a third grade level. So it's really alarming how much this affects everybody online, and it's just become very common. Like, oh yeah, don't talk to that guy, he's a creep. Oh, don't talk to that guy, he's a creep. Then we look out for each other when we're dating so that nobody makes the same mistake twice.
Why? I know you're not a psychologist. I know you're an online dating columnist. But why on earth do people think that this sort of behavior works, or is an effective approach to a woman? What's wrong with us, Casey? What's wrong with us men?
I honestly don't think that they are expecting anything more than a reaction. And I'm not a psychologist. I don't have background in this at all. But my personal theory is, do you remember the kid in school that would go out of his way to be obnoxious just to get a reaction because it was some form of attention?
Yes.
I believe that in some of these cases, graphic novel man, for example, he doesn't have attention. So he reaches out in the only manner he can to people because he can't walk up and approach people and get a reaction from them. So he uses online, and he sends these messages out because he might get, even if it's a scathing message back from a woman, it's an interaction, which is really sad.
Yeah, it is. Very much so. But it would, I online date occasionally, but I certainly thought that hi always worked.
Well, when you're a woman, and if you're listening to the stats from that study, I receive 20 highs in a day. I need something more to grasp my attention, which again goes back to your squirrel theory as well. I need something a little bit more than just a hi. That's like, I write back, hey is for horses, or hi,
Right.
something smart ass, because I get 20 of those a day,
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. That's true. I know I'm just using a basic kind of comment there. Like, I mean, I'm actually more wittier than hi. I say, hi, how are you? So, hey.
I was going to talk to you afterwards.
I mean, come on. Give me some credit. I use how are you as well.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Just cutting right through. Dividing that C, using the question mark after you. I'm using my grammar appropriately.
Well, hey, use of grammar. Don't negate the effect that can have.
No, I know. But I know, I understand the motive of cutting through, and I don't think that men understand in generally, and I don't always realize this, the amount of messages that you get, because it's over 53% of men are actually online. It's more men than women generally online from the stats that I've been reading. But I think it's this whole, trying to cut through and, thinking, I guess one of the things we'll have to get into here is I'm going to use this term. I don't know if this term has ever been coined before, but the pickup culture. I don't know if we've ever used that term, but it's just kind of popped in my head, where we think we need some sort of witty pickup line, old school pickup line. We went to the bar and said, I don't even have a good one right now. Is that the stars in your eyes, or something like, some of those corny, cheesy pickup lines. Now we're trying that online, and it's corny, and it's actually getting to the point where it's disgustingly harassing. But even the pickup lines are disgustingly harassing now that I think about it. I'm thinking as we're talking. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, some of the pickup lines, I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was in a bar, and a guy came up to me and he said, I have the biggest, we're going to use the word appendage because I don't know how far I can go with the language.
I think let's if people are offended by the words that we're using, they can be offended, but we got to take this,
and that was his pickup line to me, is I have a really big dick. And then he lifted up his pant leg. And I was like, oh, that's really clever, right? Just as a joke of how big it was. And I'm going, hi, my name is Casey. I like to go out and meet my friends and not get hit on by a cheesy pickup line. But he thought it was funny. And I don't understand where the switch came somewhere where actually, even in small doses, and it's been mentioned before, it wasn't that bad. No, it wasn't that bad, but it shouldn't have happened. Your penis should not be your opening line to me in person, online, anywhere.
Men, take notes.
Men, take note. But you mentioned the pickup culture, and there was a book called The Game, and it was about picking up women in a pickup culture, and it became very popular. And one of the, I hope I'm not quoting this wrong, one of the moves was, came from that movement was the neg, where you walk up to a woman and you insult her to get her attention, because she's so used to having people walk up and, did it hurt when you fell? Because, are you an angel? Did it hurt when you fall from heaven? Or one of the many cheesy pickup lines that you hear. So they would walk up and insult you with, wow, normally those pants make people's ass look really huge, but you can kind of pull it off. And it would get attention because it was something different, but that's kind of where things started to segue into a less, it's less cheesy, but it's more belittling, and there was response to that. And that was before online, and now we've got online where, you're in a whole different ballgame.
Because you can hide behind a computer and you're not seeing the other person's face, and there's no potential of getting punched in the face. But
yeah, you're not human when you're behind a computer, and the person that you're talking to isn't a human either.
yeah, it's just, it's an object. I mean, and then also, what Callie said, and we talked a little bit about, I used that clip in the beginning, but this is probably one of these things that falls under the category of male privilege. Because we seem to think that we are entitled to sex as soon as we meet you. The object is, and I'm generalizing here. I know that it's not all men that are doing this, but I am generalizing here. But we have to. That's men think, this is about sex, and the object is sex, and there's many conversations with men at a bars like, if you don't get with her, quote unquote, then you're not manly. And I think that there's pressure for men to actually do this kind of thing. In a sense, it's almost part of like the bro code. And I do want to talk about a little bit later on being an online dating columnist and the difference between actually giving good advice and being a complete ass to get clickbait.
Okay.
Not that you are an ass that is getting clickbait. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm going to ask you what the difference is for that, because
okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
So baiting for popularity, we'll say.
Yeah.
I've got opinions on that one.
Yeah. The difference between good columnists and bad columnists, which you are on the good columnist. I'm buttering you up, and I'm even using goodish grammar.
Well, thank you for putting me on the blend of the good witches side.
See, there we go. Are there? Okay, I guess there's obviously some sites that are worse at this than others. Tinder has the reputation of that, and Plenty of Fish and OKCupid and all of these. Has there been ever any reporting or challenging these online dating companies to change their behavior, change what they have allowed to kind of prevent this from happening?
Well, every online site has a report button for inappropriate messaging, inappropriate behavior. Everything has a block button so that someone can no longer continue to contact you. I haven't personally seen anything with regards to managing the online behavior of their users. The only site I've seen in the news is Ashley Madison, and that's just that's a whole different ballgame. But other than just a block button, there's nothing that flags the incoming message before you even get it, which would be nice. I don't want to open up my messages and, oh, there's a dick pic. There's got to be some kind of recognition software that can weed that out from the start. But none of it exists. So unfortunately, you're kind of, it's all of the sites that I've used, that I've seen, are set up to deal with the issue after it's already happened, not prevent it from happening.
Yeah, and I'm starting to wonder if many, specifically women, are starting to get away from participating in online dating because of this. It's just not worth it for them. They would rather just go to the club or the bar, there's the reputation about the bar, but how is the bar any different than Tinder? Quite frankly, what's the difference? You're getting
I don't know personally a lot of people that have given up online dating. I think it's just more become a necessary evil. We've accepted that this is how we have to meet people. But even if I've gone to the bar, I watch people on Tinder, and I have seen people try and put my face to a profile to see if I'm approachable, because nobody wants to be rejected anymore. So they're more hesitant to approach you in the first place because they don't know if you're single or not. So they want to see if you're on a dating site first before they'll come up and talk to you. So for women that I know personally, we use it as a necessary evil. It's like, oh, how else are you going to meet? Literally, the statement is, how else are you going to meet people?
That's kind of scary.
It is. I mean, I've tried matchmakers. I've tried blind dates getting set up by friends. I've tried, and of course, obviously the online dating, but I meet the most people with online dating. And it's, you got to take the good with the bad, even though the bad is really bad. And it's become kind of an acceptance, and you do use the sites like Tinder and Plenty of Fish because the paid sites have less users, and they're typically the people that are also on Tinder because they're not meeting the people on the paid sites. So they go on to the more frequently used sites. So they're using both anyway. So you have a better chance of meeting someone on a site that everyone uses, unfortunately. But having said that, the bigger the pool, the slimier the fish.
Yes, Plenty of Fish.
I've met really nice people on Plenty of Fish, and I've had some really terrible experiences on Plenty of Fish. I've had the worst experiences on Match.com though, so I don't know if I can say that. Oh my gosh.
I think we need to get a little bit more specific about this, and because I feel like in terms of this online dating conversation, not us particular in this podcast, we're like everybody knows what's going on Tinder. Like nobody, it's been a term that has been used a lot lately in the news. It's an open secret, and it's like maybe we need to kind of like kick this secret in the ass and get it out there, right? I mean, I don't have any money, so they can't sue me.
Okay. I don't know women that are not using online dating. I honestly don't, because there really is no other way to meet people now.
Why?
My personal.
Why is that?
Well, fear of rejection, which I mentioned previous. But I mean, do you remember, like in my early 20s, I remember it was a big thing to like have a guy come up to you, and then your friends would protect you, or you'd be dancing on the dance floor and your friends would all huddle around you, and it became this culture of any guy that approached you was a predator. So, and there's reasons why that happened, which is why there's a hashtag for this. But we didn't make it easy for men to just come up to you. But the reason that it wasn't easy for men to come up to you is because they'd come up to you and they'd try and touch you, or they'd try and grind up behind you, or they just couldn't approach you and say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. It's nice to meet you." It had to be a pickup line. It had to be a sleazy move. It had to be putting something in your drink. So online seemed safer at the time, I think, because you could get to know someone, quotations, before venturing out into public and meeting them. And then that became the arena for the predators. So I don't blame men for not walking up and approaching women, and I don't blame women for not wanting to have a guy walk up and approach you. It's kind of sad. It's sad what our culture has done, in that we don't feel safe, and guys are put into a position of they're pigeonholed into the predator, into the view of being a predator. I mean, how many times have you seen a guy in a bar walk up to a table of girls, and you watch to see if they're uncomfortable. You watch to see if they're okay. At least I do. If I go out and I'm sitting on my own, I make sure that I'm by a place where I can get out safely. I don't particularly want to be approached in public because I don't know why you're coming up to me. Who are you? So online, kind of maybe started out as what seemed safer and has very much deviated from that original line, I think.
Yeah, and we just, like, especially in the bar, I think we like to be, when we're out in the bar, I think we like to be just with our friends and, well, for me anyway, we like to be just with our friends and not necessarily bothered by someone else. We can't assume that someone is going to the bar is wanting to meet their significant other. They may either A, have a significant other, B, going through some personal crap and just need to get it out of their system, or have a day of doing something different. And I think we're more private and introverted, I guess. We have fences beside our houses. We have doors to shut our door for privacy. I think we're ultimately very private, and we don't want that bubble necessarily to be burst, and especially burst in a way that someone is coming up to you strutting like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and with their shirt unbuttoned and hair coming out of their, I'm being facetious, but it's true too. Still happens.
It does still happen. Although interestingly enough, I was out at a bar a couple months ago, and my friends had drugged me there. They wanted to go dancing, and instead of women being on the dance floor, doing the circle and guys coming up and trying to break into the circle, it was the opposite. It was men. And these women were trying to come up and dance, and these guys wanted nothing to do with them. They were doing their break dancing. They were having their little bro dance off. And I was marveling at how different it was from, my early 20s, when it was the complete opposite switch. A guy was not on the dance floor unless he was with a girl. And in this case, a girl could not get on the dance floor because it was this big dance off. And it was kind of, I don't know, actually it was kind of cool to see, but
yeah.
It's like, oh my God, she feels like those guys used to feel.
Yeah. It's the circle of life. It's happening before our eyes.
Oh, I can't believe I'm this old that I've seen this flip.
Yeah. We don't need to talk. Yeah, no, that's true. Because I remember, guys would always do that. And I tried that once and it was awkward. And I'm just awkward in social situations most of the time anyway. Anyway, enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about profiles while we're on this, because what is the difference between a really good profile and a really terrible profile? And not that the profile is necessarily going to be an indicator of this person's next message, but I think it's an important conversation.
A good profile usually has some kind of wit to it. You list a couple interests. You show that you've at least put effort into creating it. A terrible profile would be anything that talks about how big your dick is. No writing at all, just a stream of emoticons meant to represent your interests. Or writing nothing at all. So that person is literally there because they either believe that it's a superficial site and that people are only going to want to talk to you based solely on your looks, or that you just don't care and you're just there for fun, or you're probably someone married and you just want to have an ego boost and see what Tinder is all about, or Plenty of Fish is all about, or whatever the site may be. Those are the terrible profiles. The good ones, you have effort put into it, and you're not talking about how you're just there for a quick hookup, or unless that's what you're looking for. But we got to put that addendum out there. There are people that just want that, and all the time.
Yeah.
But the good profiles are the ones where there's effort put into what is something about you. And I'm sorry, a list of emoticons listing out your interests, it's not that hard to type. Use that English language we've been using for years.
Yes, use it with grammar. Yeah. But yeah, let's go here, because there are people that are online and they want that hookup, and nothing. It's not wrong.
Nope.
I don't think. No, but there's also the
as long as both the people are consensual and agreeing about that.
yes, very very much so. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Good clarification. But even in that, I've heard stories where that casual hookup and the intention of a casual hookup can lead to some really dangerous things. So how in that situation do you keep yourself safe?
See, and that's where this whole thing circles back around to the Me Too campaign. I know that as a single woman going out on an online date, I have to do things to keep myself safe. And the whole argument is, why do I have to do things to keep myself safe from him? Why can't he just keep me safe? Like, let me be safe. Why do I have to do things to keep myself safe? So if you are meeting online and you have, you're both consensual that this is going to be a fling, this is going to be a hookup, this is going to be a one-night stand, I disagree when it comes down to me having to be the one to worry about keeping myself safe, because that's where this whole sexual harassment and sexual that's where this whole thing comes down to, is it doesn't ever fall on, and of course generalization, but it doesn't ever fall on the man to say, oh, well, she's down for this hookup, but if she says stop, well, but she said go first. There's no, and then it comes, so he's all green light, and it comes to me to go, you know what, stop, I'm uncomfortable, like I've changed my mind, and now I have placed myself in this situation, and all of a sudden I'm looked at as the idiot. Like, well, you went there, you knew what this was about. Why are you stopping now? Because I have that right.
Right.
And that's my prerogative. And I have a huge issue with me always having to be the one to keep myself safe. Like, this should not, if this, in an idealistic culture, I should be able to go on a date and not worried about getting followed to my car, not worried about having to order, say, an angel shot, not worried about I know the bartenders. Whenever I go on a date, I go to very specific places so that I know someone there. If I don't know a person there, I make sure I tell my server, hey, I'm on a first date. Can you keep an eye on me? I shouldn't have to do those things, and yet I do them every time I go on a date.
Wow. And that as a guy, I'm not even, I don't even think that way, right? I just walk in, have a coffee, grab a coffee, pay for the bill, sit down, and I'm all super chill. And you're sharing that experience. I had a friend tell me too. She was the person that she was dating. One of the first dates the guy suggested was to go to a kind of an obscure park here, not a super obscure, but popular, but kind of secluded place in North Vancouver. And she was like, no, we're not going to walk there. Are you effing kidding? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, she said that to me. Like, and again, like, it's, for us, it seems innocuous. Well, yeah, let's just go for a walk over at the park, right? Like, it's no big deal. But for women, it's like, well, no, that's not safe, actually. And I've just met you. We're going to go somewhere very public, and that's the huge difference, right?
It's a huge difference. Even so, even when I was, the first time I had an experience where I didn't feel safe, I was still living at home. I was 18 years old. And my dad had this thing. He insisted that guys come to the door and pick me up. And I asked my parents, I said, that's ridiculous. And my dad goes, well, I want to be able to see who this person is in case you go missing. And I kind of thought it was ridiculous. Well, he came to the door, he met me. He had his friends in the car. I had to sit in the back seat, and my parents were losing their mind. And my dad actually walked up to the guy and put his finger on his chest and said, I don't like you. I don't want my daughter going out with you. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions, but I don't like you. And so I left, and I was pretty embarrassed, and I just started having warning bells going off. And we were driving down McLeod Trail, and I remember him driving really erratically, and his buddy started asking me if I was a virgin or not.
Oh.
And now I'm in a vehicle with 3 men that have met my parents, and I wasn't allowed to go on dates unless they came and picked me up. And now I'm being asked if I'm a virgin by a man driving a vehicle erratically down the road. We got to our destination, and my mom phoned me. Thank God I had a cell phone at that time. And she said, I don't feel safe. Like, are you okay? And I said, what? Grandpa died? Oh my God. I looked at the guy and I said, I have to go home. And I walked to a train station, and my mom came and picked me up. And I went home and I looked at my dad, and I remember saying, and that's why I want to drive myself to first dates. I never want to be in that position ever again. And he never had a problem with it after that.
Wow.
But I mean, and that was even before online dating. So I mean, this behavior goes back quite a ways, but it definitely changed my dad's way of thinking, because he never thought that way. Like he's not that guy. He thought that keeping me safe was meeting a person face to face. And that day it wasn't the case. And I've always driven myself to a first date after that, because I want to be able to have my own escape route. I want to be able to make sure I can get myself home safe.
Yeah. Wow. That's a very scary story. Wow. And it's good guts on your dad, though, to say, look, you little fucker, I don't like you,
Nobody messes with Daddy Logan.
Yeah, nobody does. Just Daddy Logan. I want to kick you.
But I mean, even that intimidation factor, like, you've just met my dad. Do you really want to start asking me if I'm a virgin? Because that doesn't seem appropriate.
Yeah, what's not computing in your brain here? You're about to get punched in the face, and wow.
He will hunt you down.
Yeah. His last name is Logan. Have you seen the X-Men? I'm making the connection there,
Oh, man. Yeah, so that's a story I haven't thought about in years.
Oh, and I brought it in, yeah.
No, and it's good, but again, why should I have had to be the one in that situation to keep myself safe?
Right, and then so I guess continue on in the if it's a hookup and on a date, like what advice do you have for both about if it's a hookup, or like, let's not assume that just because we've agreed on something at this point that like rules of clarity, things like that, like where, like keeping both in a safe and healthy manner, because yes, it not that, like, just keeping it in a healthy, consensual hookup, if that's what you want, manner. How do we approach this in a more healthier way than assuming, oh yeah, she wants it, bam, that sounded juvenile, but that's the mindset, right?
Well, for one, no means no.
Right.
So even if it starts out as a yes, no means no. And there's this fantastic commentary online about serving someone tea. And you can make her tea. She can ask for tea, and you can make her the tea, and she can take a sip of the tea. But if she doesn't want to finish drinking the tea, you can't pour it down her throat.
Right. Yes, I've heard this out. Yeah.
So for safe hookups, I mean, everyone is entitled to do whatever they want. And if you want to go and you want to hook up with someone, go for it. Absolutely. Explore that. But the biggest thing is that no still means no. Even if it started out as a yes, no means no. And if someone says they're uncomfortable, stop. If someone says wait, stop. Just stop. Like, we are allowed to change our minds. We are allowed to not like something and want to turn away from that.
Mm-hmm.
We are allowed to go back on what we originally thought we wanted.
Yep.
And then, for guys, if she's uncomfortable, don't keep pushing it, hoping that she'll be on board. Just stop. Like, and if she starts and stops and starts and stops, like, she's really in control. Like, if a guy was in a situation with a guy and he wanted things to stop, how would he? It's the same thing. Like, just stop. If someone is uncomfortable, if they change their mind, no means no. Don't proceed. As for hooking up, I mean, there's a million things you can do to keep yourself safe. Essentially, you have to evaluate the situation. You are going to meet a stranger with the intent of doing something extremely intimate. Often that's in an environment you can't control. Their place, a hotel. And then the flip side of that is, do you want a stranger in your own home? So I don't really have advice on that other than to evaluate your situation and know yourself and only proceed with what makes you comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of advice I can give other than no means no.
Right. This may sound a little bit of an odd question, but it's in my head here. Do you think that we have been open about wanting to hook up, like just wanting to hook up, or is that something that you think people are keeping secret?
No, I think it's more open.
Okay.
No, I definitely think it's more open. With TV shows and just the whole online dating culture in general, it's really kind of brought forth that having sex with someone is very different than wanting to have a relationship with someone. Sex has become very casual. In the relationship is the unicorn. Whereas I feel before there was a lot of emphasis on the relationship and then there was the sex.
Yeah.
And now I know a lot of people that I'm not committing to that person till I know what they're like in bed. Okay, that's your prerogative. I feel like that sex is almost as important as any other quality that you are looking for with someone, because no one wants to get stuck with a bad sex life. So it's interesting how we've separated the two. Now, if the sex is there, then I can, continue to see you and see where this goes and see if we get along. Whereas before it was, let's see if we get along before we have sex.
Yeah, I have to think about that. I mean, you're probably, I think you're right. But I think, like, yeah, I guess the part of that is I wonder about the safety is like, okay, I'm going online, and it's something I need to learn as well. I'm going online, but I'm doing this for casual hookup, not necessarily for relationship. And do I tell my friends, or am I embarrassed to talk about that with my friends? I think maybe that's where I was wondering. I think we're open as a culture to that, but I wonder if we're honest about, or if I'm honest about that myself, I guess. But
I feel that it's not really something. I mean, I don't go to my friends. I'm online with the intention of finding this man to be my husband, or I'm online with the intention of finding a relationship, or what I more casually hear brought up in conversation is, oh yeah, I'm just looking for someone to hook up with tonight. I don't hear the I'm seriously looking for a relationship, and I'm taking this very seriously, and you hear it more as a joke almost. Oh yeah, like I'm just gonna totally hook up with him, or I'm just looking for a hookup, or you don't hear the serious side of it. So it's interesting that you bring that up, because I hear the opposite of what you're saying. You're embarrassed to talk about, well, I'm kind of just on there for fun. And a lot of people I know, we don't think about it as the only thing that would get brought up is if it were a joke about it, about a hookup.
Right. I'm a little weird though. I
live in left field, don't worry.
I also live left field. I live probably up foul left field sometimes. But I was just curious about I'm curious about that. And I think it, you brought up a whole bunch of stuff about sex and what people want. We can do a whole podcast, and probably should actually. We should have you come on and give dating advice. I was thinking about that.
I don't think I give good advice. I can just tell you experiences of myself and friends.
Which is people's perspectives. There we go. Let's talk a little bit about the reaction to, and we were talking about this off air, the reaction to people's experiences online. And even to the point of and this happens with a lot too. It happens a lot more than the harassment even on, not only on dating sites, but on Facebook, Twitter, social media sites, to women getting these unbelievably ridiculous messages and our response to them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, always dangerous to ask me for my thoughts on something. I might go off on a tangent. I'm going to use unsolicited dick pic to start. Okay. So you're a woman online, you've received a picture of a penis. I take issue with the fact that we laugh about it. There's a hashtag about it. I've complained about it without, I've contributed to this culture without realizing it and thinking truly about what I'm doing, but it's become a joke. Like, oh, I got another dick pic, ha ha ha. Or, I made a tweet one day about an unsolicited dick pic that I received, and a bunch of people sent me pictures of different Richards, which was hilarious at the time. But, on the flip side of that, I've received a picture of a penis. If a man walked up to me on the street and flashed me, the police would charge him with indecent exposure. There would be a story in the Calgary Sun or the Calgary Herald or the whatever paper, we might have to dig that up, whatever paper, that there is a man exposing himself to women. It happens every day online, and it's not news. It's a comedy routine.
Wow. Yeah, and you're right. We don't take it, and maybe because we don't know what to do with it, we think it's a joke, or joking about it kind of eases the pain, but it's painful still at the same time.
First, yeah, it's not something that's pleasant to experience. And I mean, the problem with online is that when you're dating online, you're using the same device that someone looks up porn with ease. There is porn everywhere on the internet. And now you're on a dating site, and people treat the computer and the person on the other side of that computer differently because there's that computer separating you. So now all of a sudden you've got the same device that you've got all your porn on, and you're talking to a woman. And, there's such a cross there, because the things that you do online are not things that you would and can legally do in public. So so we've made it funny. We take screenshots and we post them up, and we have accounts of the deplorable behavior of men online, and we've made that popular. And yes, you can see a comedy to that, but until the Me Too campaign came out, I didn't really take the time to consider what was actually going on, which is, we're making this behavior acceptable. We're making it mainstream. We're making it okay. And to bring up your baiting your baiting point, there are people out there who bait and who try and get a conversation steered to where a man is making ridiculous statements that are very, very sexually degrading. And that's when the screenshot comes up. You never see what leads up to that conversation. You know, I'm not saying that a guy online doesn't just open up with a disgusting story. I mean, that's happened to me. But I also know that some guys get led down that path for that screenshot, for that account, to have a popularity, or to, you know, to make the situation funny, or any number of reasons. So online behavior is so deviated from what we would be able to do in public. But it's also been really good for exposing the depravement of our society, and bringing forth attention to what actually goes on and how humans are interacting with each other. So it's very much a double-edged sword. You know, we try and make it funny so that it's okay, but then something bad comes from that. And, you know, we're trying to meet people, but something bad comes from that. And it's, you know, the Me Too campaign is fantastic. And that was something good that came from, you know, and everyone talking about sexual harassment, you know, and that's something good that has come from the fact that this is what exists in our society. So, yeah.
Keep going.
I need a minute.
If you want to keep going, you know, I won't stop you.
Nope, I'm going to stop it right there.
Okay. I never really thought about that until you brought it up, but kind of our response to that is interesting, because I've even made jokes about it, and I'll post a picture of Dick Van Dyke, and you're right, it's probably a lot more insensitive than you know, maybe saying I'm sorry and this shouldn't happen, and, you know, something a little bit more considerate. But that's what
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of making uncomfortable situations funny. But at what point do I say, you know what, that's not appropriate, and we're done with this conversation? Or, you know, this is what happened and it wasn't cool, but, you know, hashtag me too, you know, So it's interesting how we have almost made it funny or comedy routine with online sexual harassment. Whereas, again, a woman walking down the street gets groped, guy grabs her, that's going to be in the paper. That's going to make the news. That's going to be something that gets people's attention. Whereas when you're online, you know, awful things are happening every day, and it's just normal.
Yeah, it's Fridays, and yeah, it's 9:30. No different, right? Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between being a good dating columnist and the difference between the clickbait, because there is a lot out there, and there's specifically men out there, male, that really give advice. Basically, it's sexual harassment. Like, it's pretty much encouraging rape. I'm not going to sit here and name people necessarily, because we all know who that's out there. There was one guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, that was, I think, is now banned from Canada for some of the stuff he said. But he's not the only one out there doing it. There's others doing it as well. So what's separating the quality dating advice, even with senses of humor, and the ones that are being complete asses? And why are the complete asses getting this attention?
Well, that's just human nature. People seem to want to go to the most scandalous. That's entertainment. We've made it's become entertainment, which is really sad and probably a whole nother topic on its own. The guys giving dating advice where women are ending up in maybe situations that they don't want to be in because no, I think you said it earlier, but no doesn't always mean no was a statement someone had made. As far as I've known in the English language, no means no. And when we're in an intimate situation with you, I don't care if you think that the chase is what a woman wants. If you're chasing us, it better be in a metaphorical sense only, not a physical sense. And they give advice based on the fact that women want to be pursued. And that goes extremely far in some of the cases, I think, if we're thinking of the same person, because they have, I would think that it's a sense of power that they receive when you can conquer. And it's that whole hunting mentality. That's extremely dangerous, though, because there's ways to pursue people without it becoming a hunt and having someone feel unsafe. There is no rhyme or reason why anyone, even if you want to be pursued, even if you want a guy to, quote unquote, chase you, you shouldn't have to be running in your high heels while that's happening. And you should never at any point feel unsafe. And I think that when some of these accounts give advice to pursue, it is misconstrued. And the addendum to the pursuing advice should be, don't make her feel unsafe. It's sweet to, you think of John Cusack holding up a boombox outside of the window, and yeah, that's sweet. You showed up, but you were wanted there. You're not going to pursue a person that you meet and show up outside of her door. That's stalking. So the problem, and that's why I don't like to say I give advice, and I try not to. The problem with advice is that people interpret it in their own way. So if you're giving aggressive advice about pursuing or how to date, someone more aggressive than you is going to take that onto a more aggressive tangent. And someone listening to him is going to take that to a more aggressive tangent. So I don't agree with any kind of advice that the other party could end up feeling unsafe. And again, just the basic rule, no is no. Doesn't matter. She doesn't want to drink the tea. Don't make her drink the tea.
Don't make her, yeah. I don't even like tea, but that's entirely.
I really like tea too, and that analogy almost kind of ruined it for me. It's so unfortunate that they get the attention that they seek, and it's kind of scary, especially being in the podcasting industry or the broadcast, and then we're in the entertainment industry in a sense, Casey, really, in some way, shape, or form. And the advice has always been given that we need to cut through and create a statement, and they're creating a really shitty statement which encourages other people, oh, look at that success, I should be a shitty human too, I'll get lots of likes and stuff like that, where as opposed to actually do some quality work and be professional about it, and people will like your stuff. It may take longer to get to your end goal, but at least at the end of the night, you can have a good cup of tea and feel good about yourself when you look in the mirror. I kind of feel like what you just said applies to dating. Instead of just pulling all the tricks out of the bag, be honorable about it, and you'll probably get to your end goal.
Yeah.
You'll be having tea with someone.
Yeah, there you go. Just, be yourself, and someone will like you for it. It doesn't have to be,
But then you're getting back to our whole culture of instant gratification. So why would you be yourself and, be honorable and take the longer path when you can have short punctuations of pleasure.
Right.
But that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other, that's a whole other,
It's a whole other thing.
a whole other thing. Another podcast in of itself.
But, I don't know how you separate the good from the bad, because I'm sure that there's people that read my column and think, and I know, that's why I don't read Facebook comments, I know that people think that I'm an idiot and that I'm going to die alone with several cats. I've had lots of people tell me that I'm going to die alone with cats eating my face.
That's not going to happen. I don't agree at all.
But, you never know how people are going to receive your message.
Right.
So, I don't know if I can, circling back to the original question, I don't know if I can tell you, how to separate the difference between the good columnist and the online person. I'm lucky enough that I write for a paper, like a national paper. I'm so blessed that I have that. But I'm edited by 3 different people before my work goes into print. I talk with my editors, and we have discussions on what I should and shouldn't be writing about, and topics that I should and shouldn't avoid. The online person, it's a free-for-all. The information that they're putting out there, they're not going through editors. They're not being fact-checked. They can write about whatever they want. And I have pretty free reign. I write an opinion column, so I have a pretty free reign, but I am accountable for what is printed under my name. And an online person does not have those guidelines, rules, does not adhere to that. So I think that would be the difference if you wanted a difference between maybe a good dating advice and bad dating advice, is look at the source that it's coming from.
How did you get into the dating column world? I'm curious.
Oh, that's a fun story. I did not have a writing background, and I had gotten out of a divorce, and I had met someone shortly after my divorce, and I thought, oh, this is going to go like all of my other friends. I'm going to marry this guy. I'm going to be back on track. And we broke up, and I was livid. I had to start online dating again. I was so mad, and I went on 3 online dates, and they were horrendous. And I was so mad, I picked up my laptop and I wrote a blog post. Never blogged before in my life. I kind of thought blogging was stupid. I'll be honest. I thought blogging was stupid, but I did it, and I wrote a blog. And I started telling my coworkers and my friends about these awful stories, and people were laughing. And then I started writing them down. And about a year after that, I went to the Sun, and they liked what I did. And that's how I got the job. I know. So, I don't know. I was good with pen and a paper. They liked my work, and it went from there. And it was 3 years in October since my first column was published.
Wow! Happy 3-year anniversary.
Thank you.
Yay!
Yay!
And you're national now, right?
On occasion, yeah, they've put me in the other papers, so that was really cool. I'm really proud of that. Like, it's surreal sometimes. I wake up and go, I have a deadline today. Like, that's so cool. But yeah, that's how I got into it. It was me having a temper tantrum, and kind of went from there.
Yeah. You unleashed the Logan, and then the werewolf. Okay, that wasn't funny.
I unleashed something,
yeah.
And it was just a fortuitous, series of events. And my former editor-in-chief was, he took a chance on me. He's amazing. He was wonderful to work with. And the assistant editor to the chief that I work with right now is amazing. And every single person I've worked with for the last 3 years has done nothing but help me be a better writer and help me with what I'm doing, and it's just been incredible. I've had an amazing time in the Twitter community with the amount of support that I get for my dating, and supporting me going on dates and supporting my column. I've hardly had negative feedback based on what I do. Facebook's a whole nother world. I don't have Facebook. I sometimes see comments when I'm checking my column online, and I'm like, oh, now I remember why I don't have Facebook. But I've had amazing support in the Twitter community. I've talked to different, and that's how we met. I've been on CTV. I've been on different radio stations in the area. Been interviewed by different people just from them reading my column. So I've had really, really, really positive feedback from everything, which is surprising, because when I went into it, I remember my dad saying to me, Howard Stern didn't get popular by people liking him. So you are going to have to grow a thick skin, because you are writing on a topic that is extremely controversial. And you're just going to have to deal with the bad is going to come with the good. And I've been so blessed that I've hardly had the bad. I've really had a good experience with it. So it's made writing really pleasurable.
Well, and you're having fun doing it, and you're taking it seriously with funny, right? Like, I had an instructor. I know we're off topic here, but I'm just gonna.
You're gonna edit most of this out, right?
Nope, I don't. Nope, but sorry. I always get that. You're gonna edit this out, right? Nope. Darn it. Thanks. Yeah. I had one of my instructors when I went to broadcasting school that said, if you want to be funny, you have to be serious about being funny, which sounds kind of weird, but you have to actually take this seriously. You can't just be like some of the best people that are funny are very serious about being funny. They take it seriously. And I think that that's an attribute to your success, is what you've done is you've taken yourself seriously. Like, you've taken what you do seriously. And I mean, you've talked about it. You work with other people. You have an editor. You have 3 editors. You're working. So it's obvious that you're taking it seriously. And I think that's an attribute to your success.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything else we should cover before we close our?
Don't make her drink the tea.
Okay.
No, and don't. I will give one piece of advice, if I can, for guys. We know that you're not all bad.
Mm-hmm.
But don't approach a situation with a chip on your shoulder that, oh, well, she's not going to talk to me. She's not going to like me because, other guys are jerks. Just don't be a jerk. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious. Don't be a jerk.
It's not obvious.
I know. Clearly, I know.
And it's the chip on your shoulder, though. So you've acknowledged that your gender sometimes does these deplorable things. And, I mean, women do it too. Like, that's a different topic. So many guys tell me, like, well, how's a guy like me supposed to have a chance when there's so many jerks out there? Don't be a jerk. Don't have a chip on your shoulder about it. Just be a human.
Yeah.
Treat us like humans, and you're going to go a lot further than what you think.
Yeah, exactly. When we gather the men and the women together for our conversation with the men and the women on Me Too, is there a topic that you want us to cover, or do you have a question for them? I probably am putting you on the spot a little bit, but do you have a question there? Something you think we should talk about?
I'd be interested to hear more about, and it goes back to what we first talked about, and in my mind's kind of been stuck on it ever since, how on our online dating, we deal with harassment after the fact, and there's nothing to prevent it before the fact. I'd be interested in exploring that a little bit more.
Okay. We will do that. So we can follow you at Casey Logan's Life on Twitter?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram?
Yeah, same same thing.
Okay. And your website is under construction, from what
It
I
is.
see. All right. So we're getting something new there. And then check out the Calgary Sun or your local newspaper to see her opinions, basically.
Thank you.
And then, of course, you can follow me, Facebook, Kevin Olenek. I'm on Facebook. I don't get a lot of hate mail. Well, maybe I do. They just talk about it behind my back. Twitter at KVOLE, SoundCloud.com KVOLE, YouTube, Kevin Olenek. This will go audio on YouTube, not video, by the way, just so you know. Spreaker.com KVOLE. We're working on getting on iTunes. We're having issues with Spreaker with that, but I'm working on that. So next time, we are going to get the men from part 2 and the women together for part 1, and we're going to have that conversation together. Also, we are also scheduling, with the news of Kevin Spacey and Brett Radner and all of the other entertainment stories that have come out with the film industry and sexual harassment, we are gathering some actors from Vancouver together to talk about that, because it's also become a pretty huge issue within the film community here in Vancouver, to the point that they actually did a town hall-ish thing on Monday for women only of how to report sexual harassment. So we're going to talk to some actors in the industry about what's going on and get their thoughts on that. So I think I'm going to add that as part of the Me Too conversation, or it's separate, but something to talk about as well. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks KOC for coming on, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.